So for everyone that's tuned in, thank you for coming in. This is events put on by the Sales and Marketing Council. It's our selling series. So we've kind of traveled around the areas, city by city, county by county, and try to teach a little educational seminar targeted to new home sales agents, but basically anyone in the sales industry, purchasing, engineering, all that kind of stuff that would basically answer the question, if I was going to buy a home in this community, what should I know about this community? And we've done these, gosh, this may be this, I don't even know how many we've done now, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these. In fact, this is our second go around with the Folsom El Dorado Hills one. So thanks for coming in. And if you weren't on the line as we were getting started, feel free along the way, if you have questions, to either take yourself off mute or to put them in the chat, and we'll try to hit those. But before we get into the program, just a quick intro on me. My name is Scott Ostrode. I am, what's my title, Angela? Past chair, immediate past chair?
You, Scott, are the immediate past chair of the Sales and Marketing Council of the North State BIA.
It's exactly what I was going to say. So I was spot on to what I was going to say. I work locally for the Builder Trade-In program. So basically we help with contingent sales for our new home partners. And then today I want to thank Ishmael from Chase for being our sponsor. You've always really generous with your time and with coming in on these types of events and helping with the educational end of things. So I'm going to turn it over to you for a second, just talk about Chase and what you got going on.
Well, so I appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you to our speakers here taking time, and Angela for always putting this stuff together. So I won't speak necessarily about Chase, but I just want to speak about the success that these education pieces have been. Angela, like Scott mentioned, we're in, I think, 6 or 7 of these, from Selling South Placer to Folsom El Dorado Hills. I think Rancho we've done. And every time, I know, it's hard to do right now, but what I'd love to see is when folks in the room are getting up and taking pictures of the monitors because of that information that's being presented, today, Sarah, or in the past, other city members. It's just one thing to have under your belt when talking to your buyers, when talking to brokers, or really, like Scott mentioned, any sort of interest in new builds and the real estate industry. So we'll continue to do these and enjoy the content. I'm sure we'll have plenty of information. And like always, I believe we are able to send out the presentation. Angela, correct me if I'm wrong.
I have to get Mayor Aquino and Scott's approvals first, but in the past they have been allowed us to share them.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, no problem.
100%. And I know Ishmael's going to do has a raffle prize as well so got to stay all the way to the end, and we'll announce the winner. I'll have Angela come on at the end and announce the winner. So
that's Angela's rule, guys, not mine. So I'm going to put her on the spot here.
I'm fair.
must be present to win, though. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to kick things off by introducing Mayor Aquino. I've got your thing in front of me, so my bio is not nearly as impressive, but I'm going to read off this piece of paper. And I want to thank you for coming back. You did a great job last year. I got to participate in just about every one of these selling workshops we've done, and you rock. You kick booty at doing what you do. So I appreciate you coming back. So a little bit of bio on Sarah. So she was elected to the Folsom City Council in November of 2018 and was chosen by her colleagues to serve as the vice mayor in 2019 and the mayor in 2020. Prior to her election to the council, Sarah served 4 years as a member of the Board of Education for Folsom Cordova Unified School District. She currently represents the city on Sacramento County's Local Agency Formation Commission and the Association of California Cities Aligned with Public Safety. She also sits on the city's Retirement Board of Authority. Sarah represents California's 1st Senate District on the Citizens Advisory Committee for Folsom State Prison and Folsom State Prison Sacramento. She is a past chair of the Folsom Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, former Folsom Library Commissioner, 3-time PTA president at Russell Ranch Elementary, former board member of Folsom Cordova Unified School District Foundation. Wow, that's like 2 pieces of paper. That's a pretty impressive resume. Basically, if anyone knows anything about Folsom, it's Sarah. So Mayor, thank you for coming in. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much for having me back. I'm happy to be here. You know, talking about Folsom is an easy thing to do. So I want to make sure that I am doing this correctly. I'm going to try to share my screen here real quick. And hopefully we're there.
There you go. It looks good.
Okay, well, thank you so much. You know, I think there are 3 main things that people look for when they're deciding where to live. So things that I call the big 3. They really want to have safe neighborhoods, great schools, and access to good jobs. And Folsom has all of those things in abundance. But I think we also have a lot of things that take us from a good place to live to a great place to live. Our motto is distinctive by nature. We have an incredible park system. We recently opened our 50th park north of Highway 50. We are just starting to design our first park for south of 50. It's going to be located next door to Mangini Ranch Elementary School, which is under construction as we speak. Our first park is scheduled to be completed in the summer of 2022 there south of 50. We have 50+ miles of bike trails, which now extend south of 50. 30% of that land south of 50 is dedicated as permanent open space. If you are a water enthusiast, you will love Folsom Lake and Lake Natoma for paddle boarding and rowing and kayaking and canoeing and obviously being in a power boat on Folsom Lake. We have a beautiful historic downtown. We have light rail, makes easy access to downtown Sacramento. Shopping and dining, I rarely have to leave Folsom for any of those things. We have Folsom Lake College and the Harris Center for the Arts. I think Folsom Lake College is really important right now in the COVID era. I know a lot of my fellow moms are saying, why would I pay tens of thousands of dollars for my kid to go away to college only to be sitting in their dorm room or their apartment doing distance learning via Zoom? So Folsom Lake College has been great asset to Folsom. And then of course we have our very quaint zoo sanctuary. If I had to sum up Folsom in one sentence, I would say that we are a full service city with a small town feel. A lot of cities contract out for services. For example, they may use Sacramento County sheriffs for their law enforcement. They may contract with Sac Metro Fire. Some of them use Republic Services as their solid waste provider. In the city of Folsom, we do all of that sort of stuff in-house. So as you can see on this screen, we have our own police department, our own fire department, our own solid waste department, which means that's your trash and recycling pickup. We have our own parks and recreation department. Some of those are a separate parks and rec board, separate from the city council. That's not the case in Folsom. We have our own environmental and water resources department, and we have our own library, which incidentally has the highest circulation of any library in Sacramento County. And I think one of the advantages of doing all those things in-house is that our employees take a great deal of pride in the service that they provide to our residents and to guests in our city. So I want to show you a couple examples of that. This picture on the upper left-hand corner, the gentleman on the far right is our fabulous fire chief, Felipe Rodriguez. And the boy standing next to him, his name is Jack. He's a Folsom resident who just finished his Eagle Scout. And so normally when you become an Eagle Scout, you have an Eagle Court of Honor, and we send people from the city council and our city staff to help, congratulate you and honor you. That is not possible in the COVID era. So that's our fire chief and some of our battalion chiefs delivering his Eagle Scout proclamation to him. The picture on the lower left, those are 2 of our solid waste workers along with a resident. And this is really an incredible story. That woman last year was doing the dishes, and she put her wedding ring, which is 100 years old and had belonged to her great-grandmother. She put that wedding ring on a paper towel and she forgot about it. And she ended up throwing the paper towel and the ring away. The trash was, put out in the can was put on the curb. And by the time she realized what she had done, the trash can had already been picked up that day. So she called the solid waste department. They radioed to the drivers. and they stopped their truck, and you can see they're out there at the landfill, and she and the driver sifted through 300 cans worth of trash and found her ring. It was truly a needle in a haystack type of moment, but that's just an example of our city employees who go above and beyond to help our residents. On the right-hand side, those are our CAPS volunteers, Citizens Assisting Public Safety. They go through a 12-week course. They help assist the police and fire departments in all sorts of ways. And here they are getting ready to hit the bike trails. And they are our eyes and ears on the trails, but they also help folks with directions. They hand out water. They help with minor bike repairs, and they're just such an asset to the city of Folsom. We are very, very proud of our police department. We have 79 sworn officers, 3 student resource officers who are assigned to our schools. We have a canine unit, we have a mounted unit, so we do have horses that live at our police station, and those are always very popular out in the community. I mentioned our CAPS program, our Citizens Assisting Public Safety. One of the really great services they provide is if you are a Folsom resident and you're going to go away on vacation, let's say you're going on a cruise for a week or 2, you can call the police department and ask to have a CAPS volunteer come check on your property while you're gone. So they'll pick up any packages that are left on your front porch or newspapers. They've even been known to water plants when they see things wilting a little bit. So a great service that our police department offers. One of the things we're also really proud of right now, especially with everything that's going on throughout the state and the country with the homeless epidemic, we have a social worker who rides with PD 40 hours a week and responds to mental health calls. I want to make it very clear that the city of Folsom has absolutely no interest in defunding our police department or reducing their resources. We are a very safe city. We take a lot of pride in that. In 2019, there were 44,742 calls for service and 0 use of firearms and 0 complaints of excessive force. So again, we're extremely proud of our police department. The next is our equally amazing fire department. We currently have 5 fire stations north of Highway 50. We have 2 stations planned south of 50. Those get built as building permits are pulled. So the first station gets built after 1,400 home building permits have been pulled. That should be in about 2023 when that station will be completed. And if we follow that same schedule, which right now we're doing about 500 permits per year, the second station would be built in 2033. We do have mutual aid agreements with other agencies, just as our police department also does. So, you know, if El Dorado Hills needs our help, we send our police and fire up there or into Sacramento, and vice versa. If we have a very large structure fire or a wildfire, you know, other agencies will come to our aid just like we come to their aid. Again, this picture is in there to show you how our city employees go above and beyond in serving our residents. They actually responded to a call of a woman who was cleaning her gutters and power washing her porch. She fell while she was doing that and she was injured. So the ambulance took her to the hospital and our firefighters stayed behind to finish the job that she was doing. This slide speaks for itself. In the city of Folsom and in Sacramento County, SMUD is our electrical provider. So that means we have not experienced any rolling blackouts. Electricity rates are approximately 37% lower than PG&E's. So we are so thankful watching all the stuff that's happened the past couple of weeks with rolling blackouts in El Dorado County to be located in the SMUD territory. As I mentioned, part of those, you know, the big 3 things, public safety, the next is schools. This is a quote that the former CEO of Safe Credit Union once said: if you want your kids to get a private school education, send them to public school in Folsom. And as the mom of a daughter who graduated a couple years ago from Vista Del Lago High School and a son who is a junior, I can attest to this. Folsom Cordova has rigorous academics. We have, our high schools have AP classes. Folsom High has a global studies program. There's an international baccalaureate program at Cordova High, which also students from Folsom can go to. Every kindergartner in Folsom gets a library card from the City of Folsom Library. Obviously, you've probably heard we have championship athletic programs. Folsom High Bulldogs have been the state champion in football multiple times. The Vista Del Lago High School girls cross country team has been a state champion. Award-winning art programs, which includes music. Vista Del Lago, where my kids have gone to school, has the largest guitar program in the state. You can take beginning guitar all the way through what they call contemporary music ensemble, which you have to audition for. One of the features that I've particularly loved, especially because I'm a mother of a daughter who's a musician and is a violin performance major in college, all of our 4th and 5th graders in the Folsom Cordova district get music. So they can either take general music, which is singing and playing the recorder, or they can take a string instrument, or in 5th grade, they can take a brass instrument or a woodwind. And when I was on the school board from 2014 to 2018, I regularly had school board members from other districts say to me, "Oh gosh, that is such a great feature. I love that you still have music in your schools." We also have a very large special education population in Folsom Cordova and all the services that go along to support them. We have state-of-the-art facilities. And south of 50, I want to spend some time talking about what's going to be happening down there. Eventually, south of 50, this is just south of 50 in Folsom, doesn't include the schools that are going to be built south of 50 in Rancho Cordova and Mather. But in Folsom, south of 50, there will eventually be 5 new elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. And this rendering that you're looking at is a rendering of Mangini Ranch Elementary, which is scheduled to open in August of next year, 2021, when school opens. It is under construction right now. And again, we're going to have a city park located right next door. But if you are familiar with our current elementary schools in Folsom, or probably really anywhere in California, the typical model is to have kind of a cluster of 1-story buildings where the office is its own building, the multi-purpose room is a building, and you have different classroom wings that are their own buildings. You can see that Mangini Ranch Elementary looks very different from that. It is a 2-story building. It's similar to things that you might see on the East Coast. Everything is contained. So you're going to walk into a main door into the school. And then from there, the classroom doors, open onto the interior rather than to outside. So there's a couple reasons for this. Of course, we have to think about safety in this day and age with school shooters. So this is a school that could be easily locked down, and you can really control the ingress and egress. And then inside, I don't have a picture of the inside, but there's all kinds of movable walls that allow for, what's the word I'm thinking of? Collaboration between different classes and between students. So again, this is going to open the fall of next year. Currently, the students who live south of 50 are going to schools north of 50. The second school to be built will be a high school. And of course, it will have all of the, the athletic facilities that we're used to at Vista and at Folsom High. And I believe what I'm being told by the school board is that when that high school is open, it will also accommodate middle schoolers until the middle school is constructed. In addition to our fabulous public schools, we also have some private school options in Folsom. St. John's, if you're interested in a Catholic education for your kids. We have Folsom Preparatory Academy, that's K through 8. The other of the big 3 is jobs. Obviously, one of the nice things about where we live is we're close to downtown, and some people drive into Sacramento to work, or maybe they commute to the Bay Area. But we also have a lot of really great employers, and so we like to call it giving yourself the gift of time. So skip the commute. Instead of spending 40 minutes or longer in the car each way, we've got plenty of great employers in Folsom. Obviously, the biggest and probably the most high profile is Intel, but we also have Micron. We have the Cal ISO. Safe Credit Union is headquartered in Folsom. Power School is headquartered in Folsom. If you've got kids in any school district, you probably have the app on your phone like I do, and you're constantly checking your kids' grades. Dignity Health, obviously we have Mercy Folsom Hospital here, and if you saw the announcement, Dignity Health is expanding south of 50, which we're very excited about. We've got a large Kaiser facility here in Folsom, and then also one of the largest employers, although it's technically in Represa, California, most people don't make that distinction. We've got Folsom State Prison and California State Prison, Sacramento, and I have a lot of friends and neighbors who have very, very well-paying jobs at both of those institutions. We also have here in Folsom a variety of housing stock. It's not just single family homes. We also have apartments and luxury apartments. We've got lofts, particularly on Sutter Street. We have some active adult communities. There is one north of 50 and two planned south of 50. This rendering on this slide, this is a picture of the town center that is planned south of 50. It's going to be very kind of cool urban feel where everything's going to be walkable. You're going to have housing and retail and a park and all that sort of stuff, office space within walking distance. So if you like more of the, the midtown downtown feel, maybe the south of 50 town center is for you. And then also, cities across the state are getting a lot of mandates from the state of California about expanding accessory dwelling units, otherwise known as granny flats. So we have some of those north of 50 already. There will be more, and there will be granny flats, ADUs, south of 50 also. I just want to talk a little bit about 2020, because obviously this has been a very, very tough year, not just for Folsom, but for cities nationwide and worldwide, actually. And this is our hashtag that we've been using, Folsom Stronger Together. Even during tough times, even during a worldwide pandemic, Folsom is committed to doing things the right way, the Folsom way. And I'm proud to say that our City Hall is the only one in the county that has remained open this entire pandemic. Our building counter was open. You could always go in and get a building permit. Residents could go in and pay their utility bills. So that City Hall has always been open. Our City Council has a policy to maintain a reserve or a rainy day fund equal to at least 15% of our general fund. So we have money set aside for times like this when sales tax is down because of the pandemic, so that we can maintain those core services that our residents have come to expect. And there's a lot of good stuff still happening in Folsom, even though so much of our time right now is dealing with COVID. As I mentioned before, Dignity Health is expanding. We're still investing in our infrastructure. We're increasing walkability and connectivity. We're putting sidewalks down Riley Street to connect Sutter Street to the Central Business District. We also work very closely with the Folsom Chamber of Commerce and the Folsom Economic Development Corporation to support businesses during this difficult time. And these pictures are all down in the historic district around Sutter Street. That upper left, as many cities have done, we relaxed organizations and helped restaurants expand into some public space. So these are our parklets on Sutter Street. So normally those would be parking spaces. Now they're outdoor seating so that our restaurants can increase their capacity, because as we know, there's no indoor dining right now in Sacramento County. On the right-hand side, that's just another shot of the parklets during the evenings. Down on the left-hand side, we are now closing Sutter Street, which is in the heart of our historic district, to cars every weekend. So Friday at 2 p.m. to Monday at 7 a.m., Sutter Street is closed to cars. And it just gives the merchants an opportunity to expand a little bit farther into the public space. It allows residents and visitors to have a little bit more elbow room and to continue to social distance. And you can see we've got the twinkly lights in the trees and strung across, and it just really makes for a very festive atmosphere. So if you haven't checked it out, I highly encourage that you do so. And then the bottom right-hand corner, that is a picture of our historic railroad turntable. And beyond that is the new Roundhouse building, which houses Scott Seafood. And so that is finally open and such a great part of our city. As I mentioned, we're a full service city, but we do a lot of things to try to keep that small town feel. And one of those things is our Community Service Day. And even in this COVID era, we're going to have that this year on Saturday, September 19th. And this is just a chance for Folsom residents to come together and do things to help out the city and help out their neighbors. So you can see there last year, we had 3,000 volunteers work on 80 projects. It could be picking up trash or making care packages for troops, or doing some minor repairs and yard work for some of the seniors in our community. And then also part of that is a citywide food drive to benefit the Twin Lakes Food Bank.
I
just want to end with one.
Mayor,
Yeah.
can I interrupt? We have a question from Ed Fontes. So he's with America's Financial, and he's asking, will your future increase in commercial development space start to include multiple outdoor functions, restaurants, eateries, bars?
Will our commercial, ask me it again?
will your future increase in commercial development space start to include multiple outdoor functions such as restaurants, eateries, and bars?
Yeah, I presume you're talking about south of 50. So yes, definitely some of the commercial building is starting to happen now. And I think because of our experience with COVID, it is going to influence some of the design. For example, we have some restaurants in Folsom, Iron Horse Tavern comes to mind, Moss Taco, that are kind of designed where you can be under a covered space, but still have that open air and that ventilation, which as we know is important in the COVID era. So I hope I answered that question, but if not, feel free to send me a follow-up.
Thanks.
I just want to end with this final slide. This is actually my backyard. I live in an Elliott home, and I have since 2003, and it's just been a great place to raise our family. One of our favorite things to do as a family is to watch movies outside in the summer. And it just so happens that our model of home lends itself to projecting the movie right onto the back of the house. So that is not a movie screen or anything. That is just the movie using a projector projected onto the back of our house where there are no windows in that one section. So we invited some neighbor kids over and threw down some blankets and some pillows, and that's us watching The Princess and the Frog outside. So Folsom is a great place to live. I can't think of any place else I'd rather live, and I'm happy to answer any questions for you.
Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to unmute and ask. And then if not, oh wait, a question just came across, Mayor Aquino. Ali Nasirian from Golden One Credit Union, he's asking, this is in regards to Folsom Ranch more so. Any ideas or plans to offset the possible impacts from housing construction and population growth in regards to traffic?
Well, certainly there are mitigation requirements that developers have to do as they're building out south of 50. But you know, I read a quote one time that said that traffic is like cholesterol. If you don't have any, you die. And if you notice during the COVID era, no one is complaining that there's too much traffic. So yes, we have to take steps to reduce traffic, to make our communities more walkable. And I think Folsom is really starting to do that. But let's also remember that traffic equals commerce. And, you know, when people are going to work and businesses are open and you can go get your hair cut, yeah, there's some traffic on the road. But right now, the past couple of months, there hasn't been. And that's because those businesses have been shut down and people have been staying at home. So traffic is not always the enemy.
Great point.
That's a heck of an answer. I love that answer. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna use that analogy in the future for sure.
We always seem to want to steal some things that she says, huh?
Right.
Scott has the benefit. He gets to go after me this time. Last time I got to go after Supervisor Heidel, I got to rebut anything he said.
Not a coincidence, by the way. That was a requirement. So thank you for that. That was awesome. Like I was sharing earlier, I volunteered to do this, to speak on behalf of El Dorado Hills, because I'm a resident and because I thought I had some good stuff to share. I forgot exactly what your presentation was like, unfortunately, and how good it was. So as prepared as I thought I was, I've got some work to do to see if I can sway some votes my way, so to speak. So does my screen, Sure.
I wanted to ask Mayor Aquino about the level of homelessness that Folsom may be experiencing and what some plans might be for that in the future.
Yeah, so, well, Sacramento County does what's called a point-in-time count every 2 years. When they did it last year, they counted 17 homeless people in Folsom. We think it's closer to about 100. We do have a navigator who we pay for to help connect folks to services. We have Heart of Folsom, which stands for Homeless Assistance Resource Team. There are several Heart organizations throughout Sacramento County. And Heart of Folsom hosts a 12-week winter shelter in the city where homeless individuals are able to spend the night in a church and get a hot dinner and a nice, safe, warm place to sleep. My philosophy, and I'm not going to say that I'm speaking for the city of Folsom, but I'm going to tell you what my personal philosophy is. We need to connect people to services and help them improve their situation. But if someone refuses services, and people do, we need to make it inconvenient for them to be homeless in our city. Because, the Folsom residents, 78,000 Folsom residents have a right to go to the park and not find human feces or drug paraphernalia or be, asked for money. We are doing what we can to provide services or to offer services. We don't have a lot of services located, as most of you know. Health and Human Services, that's a function of county government. And because Folsom's homeless numbers are significantly lower than other parts of the county, not a lot of services are located in Folsom. So they do have to travel, downtown to get some help. But we are doing what we can to provide or to connect them with services, but then also, it's a balance between helping connect them to services, but also providing a place to live that the other 78,000 residents have come to expect.
Thank you, Mayor. And
I
also
appreciate that. So just a quick,
Oh, go ahead, Holly.
I was gonna say just a quick add-on to that. So I know being a real estate agent out in the community that I have heard from residents in other cities that those ordinances are not, around homelessness, and in order to be able to keep the community safer, are not being done or followed up on or enacted, I guess. So how is Folsom handling their ordinances?
Well, pretty much like the rest of the West Coast, our hands are tied to a certain extent by the what's called the Boise decision that came down from the 9th District Court of Appeals that basically says that unless we have shelter beds available, we cannot enforce our no camping ordinances. And then also Sacramento County, with our public health order during the COVID era, they have prohibited cities in the county from displacing homeless people and breaking down homeless camps for fear that somebody may have COVID and then they would be disrupted and moved throughout the city. There is an exception to that, though, and that is if there's a public health hazard. And I can tell you that because of all the wildfires that are happening in California right now, all fire departments are stretched very, very thin. And we have some Folsom firefighters who are, helping out in different areas, El Dorado County and throughout the state. And so we are really, really being aggressive about removing homeless camps, especially those in the open space areas, because the last thing we want to have in Folsom is for open space to catch on fire and to threaten, lives and property. So yes, there are some things that are out of our control that make it more difficult for us, but we are as aggressive as we can be.
Thank you so much.
Mayor Aquino, I have another question from Katrina Wynn over at Meritage Homes. And she asks, what type of commercial businesses are already approved for south of 50?
So right now there's one small shopping center that has been approved. It's called the Shops at Folsom Ranch. It's going to have like a coffee place, a dry cleaner, that sort of stuff has been approved. That center has been approved. As I mentioned, Dignity Health is expanding south of 50. They have purchased 30 acres. They're going to have a very large medical office building. It's going to have not only medical offices, but urgent care, outpatient surgery. Eventually, the plan is for that to include an expanded hospital or a new hospital. So right now, I think just that small Shops at Folsom Ranch and then what's happening with Dignity Health are really the only things I think that I can talk about at this time. But obviously, lots of commercial space down there. and, you know, retail space. But I think that's all that we have in the pipe at this time.
Thank you.
Anything else on your end, Angela?
Nope, that's all that I have. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
I figure if I had left this slide up long enough in front of you would all get the feel for where my bias lies. No, that's awesome. So I will say, just as we get kind of going on my background, I kind of said it at the beginning. You just reminded me of something else as the mayor was speaking. I'm not a politician. I'm not an elected official. I don't know any of the stuff that she just talked about El Dorado Hills as it relates to ordinances and homelessness and some of those types of questions. So I am simply an El Dorado Hills resident. My wife and I moved to El Dorado Hills in 2003. And our push at that point was we had a 1-year-old at that point, getting ready to have a second one. And when I brought my wife to Sacramento from the beach, basically, she said, "We've been in Atomas for a couple of years. Now you got to take me someplace where there's hills." And so we got out of basically the flat land of Sacramento to move to El Dorado Hills so that we could have a little bit of elevation change, a little bit of the views, and enjoy all that. And then add on top of that, kind of some of the things that we're going to talk about as it relates to schools and parks and open space. By trade, I'm a real estate agent. I run a real estate team, a real estate office in both El Dorado Hills and Roseville. I help, like I said before, with builders with their contingent sales, as well as just doing resales throughout the greater Sacramento, Placer, El Dorado County areas. So just kind of hopping into my slides, and you'll notice the great transitions that I put together. Actually, I didn't do any of this. My wife put all this together. So special thanks to Jen. I'm kind of a history buff though, so I thought I'd kind of start just talking about the history of El Dorado Hills. And I've got some things written in front of me. So we started as part of coming out of the gold rush, is in about mid 1850s, as gold was being discovered right upstream from us. It was washing down into what now is Folsom Lake. And so we kind of grew as a gold mining town or gold processing town in the mid 50s. And then kind of made a transition over to agriculture and ranching at that point. Some of these pictures you see are right in town, where we have a couple of Pony Express stops that are still there. That picture in the bottom right-hand corner is a picture of the Lincoln Highway. The Lincoln Highway was the first intercontinental highway to go all the way across the country, obviously. That now is Highway 50, but that still kind of sits there. So just kind of a historical perspective on that. And then the growth of El Dorado Hills basically really started in the 60s, where we had a developer come in and took a look at El Dorado Hills, and his vision for it was to take all these different sections and call them villages. And so El Dorado Hills still to this day is really broken into villages that kind of each have their own look and feel and personality. And so he mapped out the whole community based upon that, with that mindset, to maintain open spaces and distinguishing marks between each spot within our community. We grew really slowly, really from the 60s up into the 90s, until we started having some commercial development in the area, followed up by the Parker Company coming in to develop what is now Serrano. So Serrano is a 3,600 acres of homes and open space. And that kind of fueled our growth into the mid 90s into the 2000s. Just kind of put the map up there just to get perspective on it. Our boundaries are actually bigger than what the city of Folsom is, but our population is smaller. In fact, the last census, we were somewhere around 42,000 residents. I think as this new census comes out for 2020, I think we'll be closer to somewhere around 50,000 residents. But there still is plenty of open space in our city to play around in. As I started talking before about villages, we're kind of designed around a bunch of different master planned communities, especially as growth is going right now. So we've got pictures up here of Serrano where there's still development. I think some of the people on the call today are developing Serrano right now. Blackstone is south of 50. A standalone community with its own community rec centers and things like that. We have a couple of age-restricted communities. Our newest one is Heritage Park, building over 1,000 homes out there, fully self-contained out there. And we've got from Promontory to other little infill projects. There's lots of construction presently going on in El Dorado Hills. And frankly, there's something out there for everybody to an extent. It is all single family. We're not building any condos at this time, but our price points vary kind of across the board from the high fives up to well above $1 million. So I talked a little bit about our business part. One of the things that I think kind of sets El Dorado Hills apart is we're really a town of entrepreneurs. Mayor talked about that small town feel. We're a smaller town feel, I think, even within that. Is our major business center is the business park, which is south of 50. The stats are up here on the screen. And what I love about El Dorado Hills is it really is a bunch of mom and pop businesses. It really is a bunch of owner operators, entrepreneurs, creative people in all walks of life. So whether that's financial services, whether that's research and development, we've got a little bit of everything there. And as we talk about kind of commute times, I'll talk about that a little bit more in the future. Most of the people in El Dorado Hills don't feel the need to leave our boundaries anymore because there's something for them to do right at home. Man, these transitions are fantastic. So some of the common questions or objections that I hear is, the first thing that comes up is because of the population growth, what's that going to do to our traffic flow? And Mayor, you've already answered this perfectly. I can't say it any better than what you just did. I've noticed just in my own commute time right now, for better or worse, there's not as many people on the road. And to your point, the worst end of that is that because other businesses aren't open and people aren't going to the places they once went to. I'll say this though too, as it relates to traffic, is I think what we've learned is that working from home is going to become more and more prevalent. That having to go to the office or to go downtown or to go to the Bay Area on a daily basis may become a thing of the past. And so we're seeing our population grow in El Dorado Hills by a lot of people coming from outside of our area, coming outside of Sacramento County, coming from the Bay Area, coming from Los Angeles, coming from outside the state, because they've learned that our cost of living is so much less than where they're exiting from, that they can come buy a home, be part of our community, work from home, and not have to worry about that commute. So I anticipate that once things get back to normal, there will be additional congestion in there that we'll have to deal with, but that maybe that's not always a bad thing. The second thing that we hear is that our utility costs are higher, especially as it relates to this says gas. I really should say electric service and our water service, which is true. Our rates for both of those are higher than what you would experience in the city of Folsom. I think the mayor said somewhere around 30%. As a blended rate, I know for our household of 4, our bills run about $75 more per month than those same equivalent bills would run in Sacramento County or specifically in the city of Folsom. So that is something real, that if you're talking to your customers or talking to people about some of the differences between the two locations, I would prepare them that their bills are going to be higher in El Dorado Hills, and don't be afraid to address that concern head on or hide from it. You can just go ahead and lead with it and let them know that's the reality of the situation. I love this next one. This doesn't come up as much anymore, but there was this scare about asbestos in El Dorado Hills. And I'm just a guy. I'm just a real estate agent. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. But as being a real estate agent in town, what I've consistently said for the last 17 years is when asbestos is left undisturbed, it's not going to cause a problem. So if you're not eating the rocks, you probably shouldn't have a problem with it, is another way that I would put it. Now, I know it's being recorded, but maybe that's not the most quotable thing to say. But it is, as long as the asbestos is left undisturbed, it really shouldn't cause an issue. And I have enough confidence that that's the case that I raised my family there. That 10,000, 12,000 families raised their families there. So if it was really a major concern, I don't think that we would have the growth in the community, especially with people choosing to raise families there. And then lastly, just thinking about homeowners' dues and Mellorews. I know for new home communities, this is pretty much everywhere you go, or at least one of the two, if not both of those. I would just say on that, you guys know your own numbers for your own communities if you are a new home sales agent, or if you're a developer trying to figure out what those assessments are going to look like. Know what you're charging versus your competition. And then you guys get to choose on how you're going to answer that question. Do the homeowners get their money's worth out of that? Are they getting services? Are they getting new shopping centers and roads and schools and parks? Are they getting a gated community? Are they getting their front yard landscaping taken care of? Is there going to be a security patrol? So again, this is one of those objections. I don't think there's a reason to duck from it. I think there's a reason just to embrace it. This is what you get. This is what you pay. And frankly, this is what you get as a result of it. So why choose El Dorado Hills then? So I always, the easiest or the shortest answer on this is always about the location on it. Is that the most common thing that people say is that we're located kind of right in the middle of San Francisco or the Bay Area and Tahoe, right? I can tell you from my door to get up to the mountain, to get to Sierra as an example, it's an hour and 15 minutes. I can hop in the car, I can be in the parking lot strapping on my skis within an hour and 15 minutes. And that's a pretty special feeling. And outside of traffic, being able to get over to San Francisco for the day and go walk around, it's less than 2 hours. And so it's always been that, that there's great spots to get to within less than 2 hours. On top of that, add in the wineries. So whether you could go over to Napa or Sonoma if you chose to, but we've got more wineries than you could ever, well, you'd be really drunk if you visited every winery in El Dorado County and Amador County. You can get to the first winery within 20 minutes leaving from El Dorado Hills Town Center. So great wines right in your backyard, great recreation just right there for you to go enjoy. Unlike Folsom, we already have a town center. Just kidding. El Dorado Hills Town Center really is the heartbeat of our community. It got built, it started construction in 2000. Construction goes on today. In fact, we're adding some apartments in right now. This is the heart and soul of El Dorado Hills. So we've got great restaurants. It's all walkable. It's built as an outdoor plaza area. As things get back to quote unquote normal, we have outdoor concerts. We've got festivals. We've got farmers markets. Grocery stores, mostly mom and pop, mostly owner operator type places, sprinkled in with a couple of chains that you might recognize. But I can tell you this, as being an El Dorado Hills resident, one of my favorite things is that when I go walk around town, I always see a familiar face. Because we don't have a lot of different spots to go for recreation and restaurants and whatnot, when you're out and about, you see the same people at the grocery store. You see the same people at the farmer's market or at the restaurant. And that just makes that's that small town feel that until you experience it firsthand, it's really hard to describe. But it always makes me feel comforted walking around that I see a face that I know, that I see a business owner that I know, that I can shake hands or maybe do an air high five at this point. Now, not that I want you all necessarily to come run up today, but we actually do have indoor dining too, all of a sudden. As of this week, rather, restaurants are reopened at 25% capacity for indoor dining. So it was nice to actually have a meal inside last night. And then we skip over to the recreation end of it. So yeah, I guess we both have access to the lake in both of our places. And yeah, maybe the lake is named after your town, but the marina is in El Dorado Hills. So if you want to leave your boat in the water, you've got to launch it from El Dorado Hills. But this was another one of the big draws for us. Just like in Folsom, we've got miles and miles of hiking and biking to enjoy. The lake, for whether it's boating or paddling or fishing, is right in your backyard. River rafting. We've got an archery range. We have one private golf course in town. But when you think about El Dorado Hills, yes, you come for the housing, but you're going to spend some time outside. And there is no lack of anything that you'd ever want to do outside in El Dorado Hills. The mayor talked about schools. We're very prideful about our schools as well. So El Dorado Hills, we're broken into two school districts as it relates to our elementary schools and middle schools. So if you are selling in the area, I'd recommend that you look into the differences between what is the Buckeye Union School District and the Rescue School District, so that you can be able to speak to which schools are in your area that are assigned to the homes that you might be selling. They're both great school districts. They both have blue ribbon schools, different programs that they offer, music programs, they offer sports programs and whatnot. But do a little bit of homework on wherever your homes happen to be being built so that you do know those differences between the two different districts, because it's probably going to come down to personal preference, but you want to be the area expert as it relates to that. And we've got two charter schools as well, one out in Blackstone, a Montessori school in Blackstone that opened 2 or 3 years ago. And then we have John Adams Academy as well, which charter school in the business park that right now I believe is K through 8, that'll eventually be K through high school. So two great options there. And then one of the differences about, the mayor talked a little bit about the sports programs in Folsom, which are fantastic. One of the differences about the sports programs at Oak Ridge is all of our kids actually live in El Dorado Hills. That was for you. That was for you, Mayor.
As a former school board member, I have touche.
No, it's a great rivalry. Oak Ridge is a great rival in Folsom. And then there's other options as well. So we've got Ponderosa High School, which is in Shingle Springs that the El Dorado Hills residents can attend, and then also Union Mine. And each school has their own distinct differences too, as far as programs that your kid might be interested in attending. So all sorts of options there as well. And really, thinking about it, the only thing that we don't have in El Dorado Hills is this prison. El Dorado, no, I had to put that in there. It is funny when people say, where is El Dorado Hills? We say, oh, it's right by Folsom. And of course, oh, is that the prison? But in all honesty, it has been a great place for us to raise our family. We've had kids go through elementary school all the way through high school and now in college. The small town feel, the parks, the rec, the community feel is second to none. So it is a great place to live, great place to make memories. And if you guys have any questions specific that I can try to answer, I'm happy to do so. Or I just wowed you with everything that I just said. There can be no more questions to be asked.
You still don't have a Costco.
Well, we do. It's just one exit away. So the beauty of that is that we don't have to worry about all that traffic, because if we need to go, we can just go when we need to. And frankly, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was saying that El Dorado Hills, a lot of owner-operator businesses, a lot of mom-and-pop businesses. But if you are looking for the chain restaurant, or you're looking for the more power center shopping center, Palladio is one exit away. If you want to, if that's what you're drawn to, if that's where your needs are for the shopping, it's just one exit away ever to get down there. And in fact, the way the roads are set up nowadays, you probably don't even have to get on the freeway to get into Folsom any longer.
So that's one of the benefits of El Dorado Hills, is access to Folsom.
Only if you really, really, really have to, though. Yeah. It is. I mean, we play really well off of each other. Mm-hmm. I'm stoked to have Folsom right there, because if we need those types of things, we can go there. And yet, for the most part, we stay within our boundaries.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Mayor Aquino. Appreciate that. Yes, yeah. I agree, Ishmael. Everyone's clapping right now. You just can't tell.
Right. Right. Thank you.
Yes, see?
How's your lunch? All right. Well, hopefully you guys got something out of that. I'm happy to share the slide deck if that would be helpful. Angela, I can get it over to you.
Yes.
If you do want to send that out. I think as much as any of it, if you guys are in the sales business here, or making development decisions or purchasing decisions, is just kind of doing your homework. They're both great places to live. They're both great places to live. But there are distinct differences between the two. And I've found that really our clients, they're going to gravitate one way or the other. So be able to know what your city has to offer, your town has to offer, and embrace it and go after it.
Absolutely.
So Angela, I guess you can wrap us up and put a bow on this and do our raffle prize, and then we'll part ways.
Yes. Well, thank you again, Mayor Aquino. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate both of you bringing to the table so much information, the statistics, the fun parts of the city, and also the things that are going to make those cities stand out for home buyers. So it's always important to, as Ishmael alluded to earlier, to fill our arsenal with information. So thank you. Thank you to you both. And Ishmael, did you want to say anything in parting words and announce the winner of the raffle?
No. Well, I will say one thing is continue to spread the word on how great these education pieces are. Regardless of what your community is, Placer, El Dorado Hills, Folsom. And the winner was picked as the first person to log in and stay all the way through. It is Katrina Nguyen with Meritage Homes.
So Katrina, please be sure to stay on the call when we close out so that you and Ishmael can talk. And Sarah and Scott just wanted to let you know that there's some thank yous in the chat room from Ollie at Golden One. Barbara Pitts at Golden One says, great information. Both are wonderful communities to work and live in. And Barbara Pitts said thank you as well. And Barbara's with Golden One too. And then folks, Mayor Aquino put her contact information in there as well. And so please be sure to reach out to her if you have any questions about Folsom. And if you are interested in the slide decks, go ahead and email me and I will get those back to you. And so thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.